Hey everybody, this is the Pirate King, and today we are in King's Mouth, playing The Secret World, Funcom's new MMO coming out relatively soon. And as you can see here, it's more of a realistic type of graphics, though some people can say it's Grand Theft Auto-ish. I think it's a little better. The game really does deliver well in atmosphere. I really feel involved in this world per se, but the game also has a lot of drawbacks, as I'm gonna start pointing out. As you see here, King's Mouth's been overrun by some mist, and there's zombies and water monsters. I have played for about a good 12 hours during the beta weekend, and let me reiterate that this is a beta and it's subject to change, and these are just my first impressions. So let's talk about the first thing you see in this game, on any MMO or game in general, is the graphics. So the graphics in this game are not that bad. Like I said before, I think they do a good job, especially since they're going into a more realistic type of gameplay. They do a good job with the atmosphere and the feeling that something's just not right here. So to that, it's fine. I mean, it's not over the top greatness that's pouring out of here, but it's good enough. It's good enough for me in this kind of scenario of a story. For these graphics, this atmosphere, this sound, it works. That's great. Moving on to the next thing, it would be the combat. Now, this is their greatest vice. The combat is so lackluster, and it's mostly the animations. Since there's no levels in this game, the way you progress is by accumulating these points. There's these skill points, and then there's ability points. You use these to customize your character however you want. If you want to play as a ranged type of character, you can. If you want to play more of a melee / range character, you also can. Or if you want to just cast magic and not worry about anything, do that too. The problem is the animations for this is just ridiculous, or it's just so not intuitive to the whole game's atmosphere of being realistic. I don't know about you guys, but if a zombie's coming right at me, I'm not just gonna stand there at point blank range just shooting him in the face till he falls over. That's not how it works, as he's mauling me. There's no, and it could be easily fixed, because all it really needs is like a dodge mechanic. You can move out of the way from the zombies, and if the zombies hit harder, that way you're more into moving away from the zombies, then I could kind of get a more feel for the combat. But as of right now, I'm either slashing it with a sword or shooting it with a gun at point blank range till one of us falls over, which is just like every other game. Maybe we're spoiled because of Terra and Guild Wars 2 that are coming out, but it's not working anymore. And because of this, I'm usually finding myself backing up, double tapping, strafing around the monster to try to feel like I'm actually in there, or like I'm avoiding some kind of damage, which I'm absolutely not doing anything. I'm just taking the damage regardless. And then you notice a little weird thing about your torso being independent from your legs, in the sense that your legs are running kind of one direction while you can twist your whole torso the other 90 degrees, which makes it a little odd. Now let's mosey on over to questing. Questing in this game is traditional in sort of way, and not in other ways. Traditionally, you go to a guy, he has an exclamation point over his head, you talk to him, you see a wall of text, you pay no attention to that wall of text, and you run out and try to do whatever's circled on your map. This has some of those features, but not completely. For instance, there's a quest about getting supplies. Obviously, if this was another game, you would just talk to the person, circle the areas where their supplies are, go get them, and then bring them back. Here they added a few things to that. They made it more sensical, realistic. You need to get supplies, but you don't know the place. Go to a phone book. The phone book circles the areas where supplies can be, and then it's kind of circled on your map. And you go to these places, and different things could happen when you go to these places. A monster might spawn, or you might fall into another quest while in that area. They've changed that also by applying tiers to quest. So if you see pick up a quest and it says tier 1 of 5, you're in for a long 5-part quest. Which is good, because that means you have to come back and forth all the time. But also in the same way, it still kind of falls back to the old way of doing things. It's not really dynamic, you just don't have to go back to get the, continue on the quest and that sort. Now I know from what I did follow in this game, these quests are supposed to be a lot harder, make you think, make you web search and find clues and so forth. But so far in these beginning area zone, or beginning levels, they're not really levels, but in this area, I have not had a really difficult quest where I'm going to have to go online and search for. There have been puzzles in the game where you kind of have to hide from a camera or move in a certain path, and there's also been a few light quests, like you turn switches on and off to make them all the same color. Some number quests in which you have to find certain numbers. There are somewhere in the area, usually not that hard to find. And so it works well. It works as in getting the whole atmosphere of mystery into you, and I like that. That was fun. There's limited hand holding, which is also good, and it's full of cutscenes. Can't forget about the cutscenes. SWTOR made a lot of issues about the cutscenes. This game has its cutscenes, in the sense that all major stories, I guess, in the town have their own little cutscenes. So every quest that isn't like an object that's found around the world has a cutscene. It makes you more involved into the story, because it gives you a little thing about, this is what happened, blah blah blah, because you're actually trying to solve this mystery and what exactly happened here. And I already know it because I played through most of the quests in this area, but I won't ruin it for you guys. It's pretty interesting. There's also lore areas you can find and unlock. I didn't read those because those were text, and I just did not have the time. All in all, this game is decent. It has a decent atmosphere, an interesting leveling mechanic, okay questing, not great combat. And that's pretty much just going to be its Achilles heel when this game releases. They don't fix that, which I don't think at this point they really can add a dodge block mechanic. I don't see it being a game that lasts too long past its core, followers like every other game has. So if you're the type of gamer that is tired of the fantasy settings and wants something more realistic, set in real-time scenarios, then this might be a game you want to check out. Especially if you can overlook the combat system. This isn't a bad game. It's great for those who like thriller, sci-fi, mystery types. This is your game. But if that's your style, then all to you, man. This might be a game you want to check out. This is my first video or audio kind of blog I'm doing. I plan to do more. I do have some Guild Wars 2, Terra, Diablo footage I can talk about. So if you dig what you see here, hit like, and if you want to hear more about these other videos I'm probably going to make, then hit subscribe. This is the Pirate King, and that was your gamer rant. I'll leave you guys with a little cutscene from the supply run quest, which I had explained a little earlier.
Ain't this a heck of a thing? 3 years without firing a shot, other than putting down some animal got itself hit by a truck. These past nights, we've gone through bullets like candy at Halloween. I used that jail cell to dry out old paperwork mostly, or Bill Dexter when he'd had a bad one. Now I've got all these folks good as locked in here, and no sleeping it off for the morning either. The way things are headed, I'm seeing us outlasting our supplies. Not by much, if it comes to that. Andy finds what he can, but with the cruisers stuck propping up the barricade... So I'm obliged to anyone who'll poke around town a piece. Bring in the essentials. We can call it requisitioning. I don't think the store owners will be writing this one off as an act of God.